summary, on our environmental choice journey, we are the only broadloom company that has environmental choice across every single carpet in our range, and that's because it all goes through the one plant, the one set of processes, so we can guarantee the quality of that. We were very proud to be a founding member of the New Zealand Green Building Council. We've got ISO 14001 accreditation, and that means we have a continuing, ongoing commitment to improve our manufacturing processes constantly, so we're always looking at ways that we can improve and do things better, and always with an eye to be environmentally friendly and sustainable. This last point about good corporation accreditation, we were the first company in New Zealand and Australia, in fact still the only company in New Zealand and Australia to go through this. Good Corporation is a UK-based agency that measures ethical performance against a set of standards that are based on the UN Global Compact. That involved talking to our staff, our suppliers, our customers, our retailers to determine that we operated in a fair and ethical manner, that we had employment contracts that were correct, that we promised we delivered on what we said we were going to deliver, that we weren't taking bribes, that we weren't shonky, etc. And when you look at the international landscape where we operate, this is actually increasingly important, especially when you have a very large US manufacturer of a synthetic carpet naming one of their ranges wool. And so being ethically correct is actually very important to us. I'm just going to run you through a few quick slides about the health and environmental issues, and this is where we really think wool carpet has a great place in the residential home. And this first one, I think, is probably the most important, almost the most important thing, is this fantastic ability of wool to absorb moisture out of the atmosphere, and it can take up to a third of its own weight in moisture before it feels damp, unlike synthetic carpet, which is only 2 to 3%. So it has this fantastic ability to regulate the indoor air quality in a room, so that certainly helps, and it helps prevent mould growth, which is one of the great contributors towards respiratory ailments. So for that reason we think it's a very strong contender in the residential space. It also has an ability to trap airborne particles, and I think if any of you have been in a room with a hard surface, and if you've seen the sunlight coming through and all of the dust motes travelling around in the air, they're so visible. In a carpeted room, you'll find that there's half the amount of fine particulate dust that you would get circulating in the breathing zone, and that was a German asthma and allergy study that came up with those results. So that certainly makes it a lot healthier in the breathing zone because it's trapped in the carpet where it can then be vacuumed up. And just, I think carpet has been unfairly maligned as a contributor towards asthma. There was a thing in Sweden some years ago where the Swedes got very, very concerned about carpet, and they ripped it out of schools and hospitals and all these public buildings. It would have been about 15 years ago. They kind of said, carpet's bad, rip it all up. The asthma rate didn't go down. In fact, over the years it's continued to climb, which is interesting. But dust mites actually feed off human skin flakes, and they're mostly found in bedding and furniture. Flooring's actually a little bit too cold for them. They don't like hanging out there, so we really don't think that carpet is an issue here with asthma. And if you have a good quality carpet, you vacuum it regularly, preferably with a vacuum with a HEPA filter, then there should be no issue at all. Unless, of course, you're allergic to sheep's wool, then it could be a problem. Wool is easy to maintain, despite what some people have been saying. It's got this great scaly structure which kind of naturally resists dirt anyway. It does emit water vapour in terms of moisture and regulating moisture, but it does act as a natural stain resistor as well. And it is resilient, it has this bounce back ability. Again, the house that I bought last year, I was ashamed to say had synthetic carpet, and when you work for a wool carpet house, that's slightly embarrassing. But I thought, that's good, I'll live with the competitor's product, I'll see what it's like. The carpet's actually relatively new, it feels soft, it looks great, except it's already starting to ugly out on the stairs, it's already starting to flatten and mat, and that's really disappointing. It should be bouncing back a little bit more. So, I've had wool carpet on stairs before, and just the comparison from my own personal experience, I'm a little disappointed. I still think wool has an edge here in terms of maintaining its looks for longer. Another thing that's important with wool is its ability to be naturally anti-static. We don't have to spray anything on it. I don't know how many of you have had that embarrassing experience of shaking somebody's hand or kissing them and getting an electric shock, and that's always interesting. Seems to happen with car mats in particular. but certainly with wool that's unlikely to be a problem. And because it's less static, it attracts less dirt as well, which is also useful for cleaning. Don't need to tell you this, that it reduces noise. If we were in a room here and this was a hard surface, the acoustics would be wildly different. So it does have this fantastic ability to be an acoustic insulator and eliminate scraping noises, etc. This is a really key thing for residential homes, is the ability to help cool in summer and warm in winter. You can save up to 12, independent studies have shown you can save up to 12% on your heating bills if you have wool carpet on your floor. We think that's a pretty compelling reason to have it in the home. Ongoing over the lifetime, if you work that out, that really does save a lot of money. And I think you can't underestimate the ergonomic benefits of wool carpet. There is one unnamed Auckland architect who is a stunning architect, does absolutely beautiful work. Generally hard surfaces absolutely everywhere and award-winning, but he has given into pressure from his own staff and put soft flooring in their own offices just because, as he says in his own words, it's gentler on the body, it's nicer, it's a nicer environment to work in. So it is much easier, it is lovely to sit on, lie on. Rugs are great, but they don't have the underlay and the extra cushioning. So if you are a floor dweller, and if your clients are floor dwellers and they like lying on the floor and playing on the floor and reading the paper on the floor, then really you can't beat a good carpet. I think the fire resistance thing is also important. In Australia, they've mandated that aged care facilities and hospitals can no longer have synthetic carpet because of toxicity in case of a fire, and also the fire risk itself. If you drop a cigarette onto a carpet, it will self-extinguish and go out. Basically, it's actually very difficult to ignite wool because of the high moisture content, and if it does ignite, the flame spreads very slowly, so it actually almost acts as a natural flame retardant, which is something to bear in mind. So when wool burns, it foams and it forms a self-insulating char, and it prevents further flame spreading. So they contribute much less in terms of smoke and toxicity in a major fire. So in summary, we are environmentally friendly, we're easily recycled and biodegradable, we've got environmental choice accreditation both here in Australia and in New Zealand.